Hello and welcome to another Arkeys video and to a new time trial on Gran Turismo 7. We are at Autopolis and we are in the new SuperFormula car and on the racing soft tires. And if you are familiar with this channel, then you will know that this is the exact opposite of what I'm normally strong at. I am good at the road cars on not so grippy tires with soft suspension, so I will definitely have to work for this one. This is my first impressions. It's not a lap guide. I'm trying to give myself just an hour to see what I can do, and I will give some pointers along the way and also talk about how a time trial like this can really get into your head and mess around with you. Let's get straight into it. So it's 9 o'clock. The new time trial has just opened. We're jumping into sport mode and we are claiming our prize for the previous time trial, and let's see what we can do with this one. I'm already a bit scared, but there's no way around it. Let's get straight into my first attempt to do a lap around this track. And I have to figure out where to brake for the first corner. You have to redo all your brake markers, and yeah, that was the end of my first attempt on doing a lap here, so we just have to go and try again. So normally I would use the orange barrier, that's a useful one, but I'm trying to brake later, but that was definitely too late, so we lose a lot of speed coming around that corner. Here it's all about trying to be steady. You can see I'm way too jerky with my inputs getting around this hairpin, and this corner usually had to lift. I definitely don't have to go down to third gear, but there's so much downforce and so much grip in this car, you really have to try to get your head around it. Let's just survive the hairpin. A bit tricky as you come over a small hill there, and this is usually a very fast corner and you can do it much faster in this car. Yeah, as already mentioned, you really have to redo all your usual pointers and brake markers and what you can do where, and yeah, this is also tricky because there's a weird angle on the track, and as we come around this final long right-hander, I'm still looking for that tarmac strip on my right hand side which shows where to accelerate out of this corner. And we are across the line in a very slow 1:31.366. So we are just continuing. How late can I brake for this one? Now I'm looking for the 50 board, but that's definitely too late. So I have to find a point somewhere between my usual brake marker and yeah. Still better through this sector though. And the time is definitely already coming down. Let's get around the hairpin once again. And can I do better with this long left-hander this time? I'm still in fourth gear, a bit cautious. Haven't figured out how much I can trust this car, but I still take over 2 seconds off my time. And now I'm braking between the orange bit of the barrier and the 50 board, and that seems like a decent place to brake for this one. And later on this lap I was actually up on my time, but I ended up going off straight into the wall, and it's time to just load a ghost. Let's just get into that, and what a brilliant start, straight into the wall. So let's try that again. As I come into turn 1 this time, I brake way too late for some reason, and I lose a lot of time just in that first corner, but still we take off a big chunk of time. That's the fun part when just starting out, when you have those big improvements. I end up almost stopping at the apex. This car can really both stop and accelerate like nothing else. I'm beginning to trust the grip through that corner, and also in this sector starting to carry a bit more speed. Be careful coming through here. You really have to slow down and make sure you don't just run off the track. And we get across the line, taking another big chunk of our time, and unfortunately also trying to take a big chunk off this wall. So let's just go out and refresh the ghost. I'm barely hanging on to gold at the moment, and as we come into turn 1, I take too much of that inside of the corner, slowing me right down. And even though the brakes are good in this car, they are definitely not this good. So also running deep into the hairpin. But despite all the errors, I take a decent chunk of time off still, but unfortunately immediately afterwards I spin and crash. And shortly after this I get into the 25s, and the lap immediately after this one I take off exactly 7/10 of that time, and that 25.295 was the beginning of my downfall. We are 20 minutes into this one, so I peaked early, and now I just started to struggle and struggle and struggle. So here started a long grind of me doing this and this and this, and this just continued. You can see my hour is almost up now, so I decided to give this a final go, taking it easy on the first lap. The tires are a bit colder than later on, but still a slight improvement, and instantly on the following lap an improvement again. And of course it got into my brain, so I started doing this and this and this again and again, and the frustration is kicking in. I really need to take a break now. My hour is actually up now, but I decided to just keep going a bit. I would really like to get a 124 something, and this was my first lap around, and I knew the tires were a bit colder, so I'm not even trying to set a time. I just wanted to get the car around and then push for the following lap. And of course, as I wasn't trying, I ended up going across the line with an improvement, almost getting into the 24s. And you probably guessed it, I instantly started to push way too much, made a mess of that one, but I would really like to get below 125. So we are trying again, braking after the orange barrier, before the 50 board, nice and easy around turn 1, and eventually we actually got at 24.9, and on the following lap I improved it a tiny bit more. So at this point I was getting ready to wrap this one up. I just had to transfer my video files. I've done this for an hour and 18 minutes, but by the time I had my video files out of the PlayStation, I had dropped into silver, and I didn't really feel like doing a video I already knew had dropped into silver. So I had to go back in and do some more laps. And this is lap 4 after me re-entering, and let's see what we can do. I'm keeping an eye out for the orange barrier, braking between that and the 50 board, staying in 3rd gear. Make sure to come back on the throttle carefully so you don't spin out. And here I'm braking between the orange barrier and the curb start on the left hand side, staying in 4th gear. Just let the car coast around, make sure you don't get too eager. I go too deep into the hairpin, but maybe I can get a good run out of the hairpin. And this is just trust that the car will stay with you, and as you upshift into 5th you can feel the car tuck in a bit more. I'm braking just after the second of those arrow boards, and just keep the car tight and careful over that small hill there. And this is almost just a lift, a tiny dab on the brakes and down to 5th gear. Stay in 5th gear, all about finding the right line. I haven't perfected this at all, but I am trying my best and get the car slowed down enough to get around here. And we are coming up towards the long right-hander. I'm in 4th gear down to 3rd and back up to 4th, getting ready to accelerate out. And I get down to a 24.389, and that just shows me that I am probably also able to get into the 23s. I will get back to this one and see what I can do. This is a work in progress, but we are wrapping this one up here. The competition is going to be tough for this one. I hope I can stay in gold throughout the period this one is running. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it entertaining and somewhat useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.